All right, everyone. It is Tuesday, December 19th here. We're almost at that Christmas break period, but it's that weird time of the year where, I was saying to my family this week, between December 15th and December 29th, 30th, you kind of really don't know what day it is at all points. But today we're going to talk about Virginia Tech wrestling and the Southeast Regional Training Center with our guy, head coach Tony Robie. Coach, how's it going?
Going great, Pat. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm doing well.
Awesome. So first of all, congratulations on the big win over Stanford this past weekend. A lot of energy in Castle Coliseum and a lot of buzz around the program right now. Coach Robie has been at Virginia Tech since 2006 and has been the head coach of the Virginia Tech wrestling program since 2017. So wanted to talk to Coach Robie about a few things here this afternoon. Mainly we want to talk about what is the Change the Game campaign with the Southeast Regional Training Center. And also we're going to do a little bit of a mid-season check-in here with wrestling. So, Coach, I know that this SERTC is a huge component of really a lot of things that drive the foundation of the Virginia Tech wrestling program. And you've really built a winner here at Virginia Tech, on the foundation of that. But we'll love to hear, first of all, what is this Change the Game campaign led by the SERTC?
Yeah. So first off, I guess, for those people that, aren't super familiar with wrestling, I think everybody who's followed our program closely over the course of the last several years is familiar with the Southeast Regional Training Center, what it is and why it's important to our program. But I think just kind of starting off there and talking about exactly what it is and what it was designed for and kind of how we're using it now. So the Southeast Regional Training Center is a 501c3 that's not affiliated with Virginia Tech. But its mission is to promote amateur wrestling in the New River Valley in the state of Virginia. So we've had this in place for probably the last decade or so. In every major Division I wrestling program has something similar, that's somewhat affiliated with their program. The Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, the Ohio RTC. So ours is the Southeast RTC. And, it serves a lot of functions. It allows us to supplement some salaries for staff, who work for the Southeast Regional Training Center and coach for the Southeast Regional Trainer, who also happen to coach for Virginia Tech and some of our support staff as well. It's funded resident athletes like James Green and Ty Walls, and those kind of guys in the past that were trying to make Olympic teams. And since the inception of NIL, we've also used it and used some of the resources that we have from the Southeast Regional Training Center to offer NIL, deals or opportunities, I guess you should call it, to the athletes in our program. So serves a lot of different functions, but obviously it's here to support our program and support and grow wrestling in this area. So that, talking about the campaign, we launched the campaign the first year I got hired. We did a donor drive and I think we got over, it was our biggest numbers that we had ever for the training center in terms of gifts. I think we were close to 300 gifts for that particular fiscal year. So we wanted to do something again and really focus on the numbers and the number of donors that we have that are contributing to the Southeast Regional Training Center. So we launched our campaign about 6 weeks ago, maybe. And the goal was to have 300 donors for this fiscal year. Our fiscal year starts May 1st, before the first whistle blows at the NCAA championships in March. So that's kind of where we're at and what our goal is. And obviously the more people that we have that get involved, the more dollars that we're going to have resources to. And as everybody knows, in this day and age in college athletics, dollars are important. So that's what we're trying to do. It's been really, really successful up to this point. I think we've gotten, I want to say, 106 donors since our launch. So we're right at about 210 currently. So we're about 90 short of our goal. And we're hoping that people that listen to this may be interested in learning more and potentially contributing to our cause.
Two things I heard there, Coach, is that one, the SERTC is really the way that wrestlers within the Virginia Tech wrestling program are able to have some sort of NIL opportunity. And two, it's a 501c3. So those are two really great reasons to get involved here and to make some contributions and efforts towards this Change the Game campaign. Now, you said that this is your first campaign since you were hired in 2017, and you guys did an awesome job with that campaign. 6-7 years later, why now? Why is now the time to kind of relaunch this campaign and set new goals for Virginia Tech's program?
Well, I think kind of like its namesake, the game has changed significantly in the last couple of years in college athletics. So it seemed appropriate to launch a campaign and to name it Change the Game, because that's really what's happened in college athletics. And we're trying to change the game at Virginia Tech within our wrestling program. And the more people that we have involved, the easier it is for us to do that. And, I really do believe that the future of our program is incredibly bright. If you followed our recruiting the last couple of years, it's going really, really well. And I feel like we've got as many really good young kids in the program as we ever have with the 2024 class, and then especially the 2025 class coming in. It's pretty exciting, the level of athletes that we're going to have in the program here for the foreseeable future. And I don't anticipate that changing. I think we've always been able to recruit at a pretty high level, and we anticipate continuing to be able to do that. But again, we need to get as many people involved and, get everybody on board supporting what we're trying to do. And even if it's $100 donation, every little bit counts. So those things add up, and we get enough of those, it amounts to a lot of money for us to do a lot of different things for wrestling in this area.
I know we talked about personnel. I know we talked about NIL. Is there any specific area of investment that your team really wants to make, some of these campaign efforts toward? I know you have to attack all areas of the game, but is there any one thing that has changed other than NIL that you're looking to divert those investments towards?
I mean, it's an arms race for sure, and really every area. Things have gotten incredibly expensive for all programs to travel, and so whether people want to give to the Southeast Regional Training Center, or they want to give to wrestling through the Hokie Club. Those are both great avenues to support our program. And we encourage people to do what they want to do and what they're comfortable with. So, we do have a lot of people that also give to the Hokie Club to support our foundation account, we call it. And, we can use those dollars to do a lot of different things, facility upgrades. It supplements our budget, allows us to take, we're wrestling at Cornell. We wrestle at Missouri January 6th. January 2nd. So we fly out to Columbia, Missouri, and getting from Blacksburg to Columbia is not really an easy thing to do. We'll fly out there commercial, and we fly back on the 3rd. We wrestle at Cornell on the 7th. So we're going to charter a plane to fly up there, because the travel just gets to be a lot for these guys that time of year. So anything that we can do to enhance our budget to help our athletes compete at a higher level, and sometimes that's meals and different things and nutrition. Sometimes that's recovery things that we need to have on site. We recently did about $100,000 cold tub renovation here a couple years ago. We redid our facilities a couple years ago. So, but again, things continue to get more expensive, and the dollars help in every area that you can possibly imagine, just like everybody else is probably experiencing right now.
Absolutely, Coach. So we will make sure that we put some information out on Twitter, out on Instagram, and as well as the article attached to this podcast. So you can make sure that you can find out how to get involved with the Change the Game campaign. Coach, you have the Sons of Saturday support here. We're looking forward to signing up and making a contribution, because we love what you guys do, and we love seeing how much juice there is around the wrestling program year over year. You guys have been killing it on the recruiting trail as well. So fired up to get involved.
Yeah, we appreciate it. People are interested in learning more. They can go to southeast-rtc.com. And that'll give you all the information you need. You can, give me a call or shoot me an email if you have more questions. We take stock donations. You can donate monthly online. You can send a check. You can give a one-time donation online. So, really any way that you want to give, we'll figure out a way to accept your money.
So talking about the season so far, coming off a big win versus Stanford at home this past weekend, how would you assess the season to this point as we kind of roll into the Christmas break?
Yeah, we didn't start off well at all. I think anybody, it was disappointing. I was really disappointed. We had an incredible crowd at the Ohio State match, and we laid an egg. There's no question. Credit to Ohio State. They wrestled well. They were ready to go. We weren't. And I know that we used the beginning of the year to try to figure out our lineup a little bit. And, it's a long season. I think that match was November 10th, and the NCAAs are the third weekend in March. So you have to be smart with how you approach the season for sure. But, I think anytime we have an opportunity to wrestle a team like Ohio State, and we have that many people in Castle, over 5,000 people, we want to put on a good show, and we didn't. So, that kind of stuck with me for a while. I know that. And I think we're going in the right direction. I think we wrestled better in Las Vegas. We didn't have everybody in there. Mackay and Sam Latona didn't wrestle, and that was a heck of a tournament. I mean, that thing was as close to the NCAA championships as you can possibly get outside of that event. So, we had some guys that performed well. Caleb Henson's really wrestling at a high level. We had 4 placers out there: Sonny Sasso, Sam Fisher, Bryce Andonian. I think if you throw our full lineup in there, we feel really good about how we could have performed there. But, we approach that too as an individual tournament a little bit. We don't so much worry about where we're going to place as a team. We try to do what's best for our individuals and in preparing them for the end of the season. So we had 2 really, really good training phases in between Las Vegas, which was the first weekend in December, and our match against Stanford. And, we had a few different guys and different faces in the lineup too, which I think, those guys wrestled really well and provided a spark for us in some places where we needed it. So I'm excited about how our team's kind of coming together, and hopefully coming together at the right time of year. We're still playing around with our lineup a little bit. There still may be some more changes coming down the pipe that could positively affect who's in there. We have, I think, 9 guys going to the Midlands Championships on December 29th and 30th, to try to figure out some different spots at 141, and then still playing around with some of our options at 184 pounds and 197 as well. So we'll continue to get a clearer picture of what our lineup's going to look like as the season progresses, as these guys get opportunities to compete, and as coaching staff, we have opportunities to evaluate them and kind of see what they can do for our program this year. So, but it doesn't get any easier for us. I can tell you that much. I mean, we've got Missouri and Cornell back to back. You mentioned Missouri, I think, is ranked 3rd or 4th in the country right now. Cornell is ranked 5th or 6th, and they're probably underranked, to be honest with you. So those are 2 tremendous challenges that we're going to have. It's not going to be easy, but in general, wrestling's not easy, and the NCAA tournament certainly is not easy. So hopefully everything that we're doing right now is going to help prepare us for that event in March, and we're going to kind of keep our eye on the ball.
Coach, I know coming off of the win versus Stanford this past weekend, and having the impact of Cooper Flynn with the upset over number 4. And here's actually a cool picture that we captured here. We didn't capture it, but we found it, of Cooper. I know a lot of people are going to want to hear about Cooper at 125 and how international wrestling has helped him develop.
Yeah, I think, Cooper last year, Cooper's very good. I mean, he was highly touted recruit coming out of high school, one of the best kids in the country. Um, in the room, he has some really, really good days. He can go toe to toe with Sam Latona. He can go toe to toe with all the little guys in our room. I think last year he struggled a little bit in competition and just, trying to figure out the mental side of it a little bit. And, quite honestly, I just think controlling his emotions when he stepped out there and not making more out of it than it is. At the end of the day, it's just a wrestling match. But I think Cooper's one of those guys that sometimes he cares too much. And, that can be a problem as well. And I think the experience that he had in the international styles after the season, obviously he wasn't our starter last year, but Eddie Ventresca was the starter at 125 pounds. So Cooper was really, really hungry to prove what he was about going into the off season. And he had opportunities to show that at the senior US Open, where he, I think finished fifth or sixth at the senior Open. And then, made that U23 world team, and then he's been out to Colorado Springs, I think 3 times since the end of last season, at world team training camps, training with the best guys in the United States and some of the best guys in the world. And you really can't put a price tag on those kind of experiences. And, kind of getting back to what we were talking about earlier with the Southeast Regional Training Center, the training centers, it provides those opportunities for our guys to take those trips and go overseas and compete overseas and wrestle at world championships and train in Colorado Springs with, some of the best guys in the world. So, those opportunities, I think, have really helped Cooper develop, not only from a wrestling standpoint, but, technical standpoint, but just emotionally and mentally and just kind of figuring things out. And, that win against Stanford was really, I think a big win for Cooper, and hopefully that kind of propels him forward throughout the rest of the season. He's got some big challenges ahead of him as well. So I'm excited to see how he competes. He's as good as anybody in the country at 125 pounds when he's at his best.
Cooper's certainly a newer name in the mix, but, you got a roster full of dudes who have had some pedigree from prior years, whether it's Sam Latona or Mackay, Bryce Andonian, Caleb Henson. How have some of those older veteran guys, how have they worked with some of these new names and younger faces in the room?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it sometimes in our sport is like your weight class and who you're on the mat with, and who you're working with a lot, or the guys that really help you in a lot of those areas. So I think in Cooper's case, Sam Latona has been instrumental in helping him develop. I mean, Sam, they've been friends, I think, since they were in middle school. Sam's from Alabama, Cooper's from Tennessee. They've wrestled a lot together. Really, Sam Latona is probably as big a reason that Cooper Flynn came to Virginia Tech as any other reason. They were really, really close, and Sam was, pretty involved in the recruiting process with Cooper, and that relationship has just continued to grow. They're both just guys that are in the room constantly. They're almost guys that you have to kick out of the room occasionally, because they'll be in there 3 times a day if you allow them to be. They're very similar in the way that they live their lives. Those guys are really clean in terms of how they approach life and their habits outside of the wrestling room. So I think that bond between those two guys is strong. And I think, when you have somebody like that to mentor you, I think it's really, really important, because, everybody has struggles, and Sam Latona certainly didn't come in and it was an instant success for him. He had to work hard. He had to struggle through some things. And I think, just having somebody like that to bounce things off of, to pick you up when you have a bad day, or, to kind of give you some advice is critically important. And, we have that in a lot of places. And, I think it's definitely a big part of the reason you see some young guys step in and have success right away, like Caleb and Eddie did last year. And I think some of the young guys that we have this year can have similar success.
I know culture and vibe are such a big thing in this sport, and, culture and vibe are a big deal before a big match as well. Within the locker room, you guys have a big match against, say App State or Carolina in Castle. Is the vibe loose and light, or is there a tangible feeling of everyone's locked in? What is the typical vibe before a big match in Castle like?
We typically try to keep it loose and light. I think you got to be ready before you step out on the mat, but there's no reason in terms of wasting emotional energy or physical energy, being uptight, in the hours leading up to when you step on the mat. So our process is, we weigh in 2 hours before our match. We warm up before our weigh-in. So we're here 3 hours before the match starts, warming up, weighing in. Again, the guys refuel and rehydrate, and then they'll come back up to the wrestling room, probably 30 minutes before the dual meet starts. And then I think at that point, it starts to get a little bit more serious. Guys start to get dialed in. They kind of spike their heart rate and get one last warm up in before we go down on the floor. And, we'll usually talk a little bit before we step out on the mat, try to make sure their head's in the right place. But, every guy, our sport's an individual sport, and every guy has their own routine, and every guy kind of competes, and maybe, their best state of mind isn't the same as the other guys on the team. So as a coach, you kind of have to learn which guys to help relax and which guys that maybe need to get fired up. And, I think that's kind of what our approach typically is.
Piggybacking off of that, is there any bizarre pregame routines that exist in the locker room or outside of the locker room prior to getting in the facility?
No, I don't think so. I mean, nothing that I can really think of offhand. I know, I guess Caleb is probably as much a creature of habit as anybody. I know he likes to stick with his routine. He's very regimented. He maybe does some outside the box things. He likes to do a little grounding sometimes. So I guess that's, a little bit different. And we'll typically do a quick ice plunge before he steps out there, before his warm up, or sometime that, leading up to the match. So, those, and a lot of the guys have, certain foods that they'll like to eat, just in terms of routine and just in terms of feeling good. So nothing too crazy.
So we'll jump into a few messages and questions that we got from Twitter. So if you are able to answer these, fire away, Coach. When will we see Hippolito again at 165? And do we know the plan at 141?
Yeah, those are good questions. Raphael is going to wrestle at the Midlands unattached. So, in our sport, they changed the rule last year where true freshmen could compete up to 5 times before they lost their red shirt, but they could not compete unattached before the first semester or during the first semester. So unattached means they have to pay on their own. They go on their own. They don't wear a Virginia Tech singlet, and they can wrestle in these open tournaments where basically anybody can wrestle. High school kids can wrestle, international guys can wrestle, post-grads can wrestle. So Raphael has currently burned 3 of his opportunities to compete. He wrestled against Rutgers. He wrestled at the Southeast Open, and he wrestled at the Keystone Classic. He will wrestle unattached at the Midlands, so that will not count as one of his dates. And you will probably more than likely see him in a Virginia Tech singlet at least 2 more times, I would guess. And then we'll have to make a decision on whether we want to pull his red shirt or not. So, but he will definitely, we'll see him soon at the Midlands. And he's probably a 57 pounder more than he is a 65 pounder right now. But, for team purposes, he's definitely going to see some time at 165. 141. So we've got 3 guys entered at the Midlands at 141 pounds. They're all wrestling unattached. Mac Church, Hunter Mason, who were the 2 true freshmen who have both seen a little bit of time this year. I think they both used 3 of their dates up to this point. But Tom Crook, who was our starter last year and was, had a pretty good season last year, is going to go 141 at the Midlands as well. We're going to see how that plays out and make a decision after that. So, when I talked earlier about figuring out our lineup, that's kind of what we're referring to is we've got some places where, we want to be smart and we want to be calculated on how we approach this thing. And that's kind of what we're trying to do.
I was going to say, you just knocked out a bunch of questions with a few of your answers there, Coach. But going off of the red shirt question, how do you determine what's best for individual versus what's best for the team? Do you start the best wrestler, or do you try to save some of those red shirts for most of the freshmen?
Yeah, it just depends on the need at that weight class. And I always say if it's a situation where you have a guy that's close or competitive and a guy that can do well for you, I'm going to err on the side of probably redshirting that freshman. It's funny. I was talking to Mike Hazel, the football chief of staff, the other day. We just happened to start talking about red shirts and kind of having this conversation. He's a huge wrestling fan. And I think he said it really good. He said, you're basically trading their best year at the end of their career for their worst year at the beginning of their career when you decide to do that. So if they have that fifth year at the end to wrestle, a lot of times they're going to be a lot better in that fifth year than they would be in that first year. So, that kind of made sense to me. And that's, I would say, how we typically approach it. But that's not always the case. I mean, if we have to make some tough decisions sometimes. And, guys last year, Henson wrestled as a true freshman. We knew he was ready to go. But Tom Crook wrestled as well. And, he had good year. He had good experience. But if I had that to go over again, I might do it a little bit differently.
So speaking of young guys, have to give a hat tip to our guy, Andy Newman. Andy was gassing up Jimmy Mullen. And this is a Billy Ray question. And speaking of Jimmy Mullen, first of all, I want to hear any commentary on Jimmy Mullen, the pride of New Jersey. But Billy Ray's question is, objectively speaking, why is New Jersey elite at wrestling? Is it because everyone from there is grit?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with it. There's definitely there's some attitude, that's for sure. And there's some swagger. There's also a hell of a lot of people, and that doesn't hurt either. So Billy Ray, I think that has something to do with it. So, but if you look at the wrestling hotbeds in high school, it's generational. And that's when you see really, really good wrestling. Like where I grew in Pennsylvania, where I'm from, I say this all the time. Every single one of my friends at least tried wrestling. They didn't all stick with it, but it's like baseball in the South, right? Like everybody tries it. And when you start with a huge number at the bottom, there's going to be some good ones that stick with it, and you're going to have a higher rate of success. I think New Jersey's like that. I think Pennsylvania's like that. I think Ohio's like that. I think the weather has something to do with it. It's, cold in the winter. And if you're not playing basketball, at least back in my day, you didn't have much to do in the winter. You couldn't play video games all day long. So, I think that has something to do with it. But there's also, if you look in North Jersey right now, we've been that Eastern Pennsylvania, Lehigh Valley area up into like Central to North New Jersey. It is just absolutely loaded with talent right now. I mean, there's about 10 different clubs for high school kids to go to within probably a 60 or 70 mile radius that have elite level partners, elite level coaching. And it's like you talk about culture within your program. The culture of wrestling in that area it's off the charts, and people love it. You go to like a St. Joe Regional versus Del Barton match or Bergen Catholic match, you can't get a seat in the gym. It's that crazy up there. So people love it. I think it's passed down from generation to generation, and that's a big part of the reason it's really good. But Jersey's, Billy Ray's, he's absolutely right. It's good wrestling up there.
And then last letter from the lunch pail here is from Kyle Berkner, another Bergen County guy. If a guy ever messed with you in a bar, Coach, what is your go-to move?
I just shake his hand and walk away. Life.
Good answer. Good answer. So we're going to roll into just a few Christmas-related rapid-fire questions here, and then we'll let you get back to it, Coach. But what is your favorite Christmas movie?
Four Christmases.
And then, do you have any favorite Christmas traditions?
Not really. Typically, I like to take a little time off this time of year because it's super busy for us. soon as the school year starts, it's crazy busy. And this is really the only downtime of year that we have. So typically I like to take a little time off, but I got roped into moving and buying a house here. So we close on a house on Thursday. So that's not really going to come to fruition for me this year.
There you go. New congratulations. New Christmas tradition is moving boxes. So hopefully you'll get an opportunity to put up a tree there. Now, are you a cartoon or Jim Carrey Grinch fan? Which one are you choosing?
I would say Jim Carrey Grinch for sure. Not a big cartoon guy.
And then any good Blacksburg snow day stories? I know you've been in Blacksburg a long time. Any years in particular stand out, or any good snow day stories with the team?
Man, it hasn't snowed here a lot in like 5 or 6 years. I got here in 06 and we got we would get dumped on occasionally, where we'd get 20 inches of snow. And for me, I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, so like we were just used to, life just went on and nothing really changed when you got snow. And I guess one of the biggest things for us, I wouldn't call it a story or anything, but I was just in amazement of how quick they would cancel school and how everything just shut down for, sometimes a week at a time when it snowed. So I enjoyed those days though. That's a nice, when you get a snow day and they dump, 15, 18 inches on you here, that's a good day during the middle of wrestling season to kick back, relax, maybe have a cocktail. All right. And, enjoy yourself a little bit. So that's how I approach those days.
There you go. Nothing was like those snow days. And I know it's a little different now, in post COVID where, all right, we're doing virtual class now. They can't really cancel classes anymore. But Coach, this was great. Thanks for coming on. I want to know, this is your opportunity. Any other messages that you want to shout out to Hokie Nation here before we let you go?
No, I just want to thank everybody that supported our program. I try to, every opportunity I get, I try to thank everybody. We've had tons and tons of support over the years. It's been really cool for me to see how far this program has come. I knew when I came down to look at the job at Virginia Tech, it was pretty easy to see like the potential of what it could be. And to be here as long as I have and to see it grow to where it has been. I mean, that's credit to a lot of people, administrators, fans, alumni, donors, athletes. So there's been a lot of people that have invested energy, time, and money into this program. And, hopefully some of those people are listening, but, we're really grateful for everybody that supports us in good times and in bad times. Some of them get a little crazy when we have a bad match a little bit, so that's probably a good thing that we take a little heat when we don't wrestle well, but more than anything, just go Hokies, Merry Christmas. And we're grateful for everybody's support. We love what you guys are doing too, man. You guys are great. You're the best. Sons of Saturday, you and my man, Billy Ray. Look forward to seeing you guys hopefully before next football season.
Absolutely, Coach. Been a pleasure getting to know you and all the guys in the facility, Ethan and Coach Fryer and Tucker and everyone down there, and also the Virginia Tech wrestling diehards as well. Love that. And Coach, enjoy your time off. Best of luck with the move as well. We will be down there for, I believe it's the last weekend of January for Carolina Friday night. I know women's basketball is Thursday. Wrestling versus Carolina is Friday. And then men's basketball is Saturday, that last weekend of January. It's going to be action-packed in Castle. So if you're listening and you're like, hey, want to do a big-time Hokie Athletics weekend in the wintertime, look no further than that last weekend of January. But, Coach, we'll see you down there. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, my man. Let's go. We'll see you.
Hokie.